Okay, story number 17, the Sandbox Ghost Girl, because that's what this story is about. I at the beginning of this clip, before I just chimed in, I put I copied it off Google Earth, an aerial of the area where this little encounter, ghost encounter, comes in, and it's just so you can kind of picture it in your mind, maybe a little better. There's a track. There's the elementary school. There's a sandbox area. I also point out an old disused cemetery. Might have something to do with this. This is a ghost story after all. Now, that old cemetery, there's no roads going up to there, and I've got one heck of an unusual ghost story from there that my daughter was with me and witnessed this as well, but that's a different story. That graveyard has stones ranging from 1790s to about the 1880s. A lot of mostly English, some Irish names in there. And I like the way they hand carve some of them. There's the two power girls that died in the stream, drowned in the stream. That's what it says. April of 1813. And I think they were like 7 or 8 years old. Maybe that's related to this story. There's Captain Price, killed by Sioux Indians by some river in Minnesota. There's Civil War soldiers. There's a lot of children buried up there. They had some typhus epidemics swept through this town and twice, and culled this village off completely, quite a bit. I mean, it just emptied out entire households of everybody in early 1840s. So it's a peaceful place. You know, the village mows it, keeps it somewhat kept. There's no roads going to it. There's even some Revolutionary War era soldiers that are buried there. Civil War soldiers. And the Revolutionary War soldiers there weren't any revolutionary battles here in this town. They were soldiers in the Revolutionary War, and they were awarded by George Washington tracts of land in upstate New York as payment. So these are guys that came up here and claimed their land tracts and settled the area. Anyway, a little history on this. All right, to the story. The track. I have been going out to that track around sundown for quite a few years. I like to power walk around that track, and I go out there, like I said, at sundown because there's nobody out there. And, you know, you watch, when I say power walk, I mean, I really put my whole body into it. I'm trying to burn some calories and tone up a little bit, vanity, whatever. And you watch somebody when they're power walking, and their arms are pumping, and their hips are going right and left. And I just don't want to do that. A little bit of old school man pride here. I don't want to do that in public. But I personally believe it's a pretty good way to work out. And I go back there, and if you see that satellite photo, it's surrounded by just woods and fields and hills on 3 sides. So, you know, I go around the track and I say my prayers and Hail Marys and the Lord's Prayer and what have you, and meditate, talk. Sometimes I call army cadence to myself, old habits. And it's just me and the woods and the sky and sweat. Well, when this story happened, I had a stepson who was about 7 years old living with me. This was about 10 or 12 years ago. And he usually wanted to go out there with me because at the track itself, on one end, they had a sandbox, sand pit for some of the track events, the long jump and the triple jump. Big pit of sand. He'd bring his little toy trucks and shovel, and I'm power walking around the track for like 45 minutes as the sun's setting. And he'd be in the sandbox doing his stuff with his trucks. So yeah, he followed me along this night as usual. And my workout concluded, And I said to my stepson, "Hey, let's get going. I'm all done." And we'd walk home, and it would only take me about 10 minutes to walk home from there because I lived in the village. And our walk would take us across the field, along behind the elementary school, and on into the village. So we get about halfway across the field. And first off, I want to tell you that this is a wide open area. They keep the grass mowed. And I'm walking, I would see anybody. I'm walking around circles, so I'm getting a 360-degree perspective. I say this because I want you to know there was absolutely nobody out there the whole time I was there. There were no cars, there were no people, nobody. It was just me and my stepson. And I would have seen him, hands down. We get about halfway across the field, as I was saying. And we're headed, my stepson says to me, and he always did, he wants to get the most out of his playtime. He says, can I play in the sandbox, please? You know, behind us, where we were walking that way, behind the elementary school, there were 2 large sandboxes and a lot of kids' toys that went with them, little shovels and buckets and what have you. And I kind of knew he always asked to play back there. I said, yeah, sure. I said, but only about 10 minutes, then we got to move on. So I see halfway across that field, I notice a girl in the sandbox area in a white dress. And she really stood out because it was getting kind of dark. It wasn't quite nighttime, but it was right before nighttime, twilight. What do they have a name in the Army for that? Before nautical twilight. BMNT. Right. Anyway. Yeah, so we get up to the sandbox, and he starts playing in the sandbox doing what kids do, scooping sand and running his little trucks over it and stuff. And standing next to him is this girl in a white dress. And to say next to him, I say arm's length from him. And I sit down on the edge of one of the sandboxes because they're like made of, it's like a wood casing around them. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at this girl, and she's so out of place for many different reasons. But she looked solid, and she was about, from me to you, or the camera perspective, about the same distance. And I'm looking at her, and she's got a white dress on, and at the waist it belled out, you know, like old school. I call it like Cinderella. And she had long blonde hair, really thick head of blonde hair. I'd say I'd put her around 8 years old, if I had to guess, just judging by her size. And her hair was done up in really thick, large ringlets. All her blonde hair was all really heavy ringlets, the type you'd do with a curling iron, like I would know. And she's humming a song the whole time she was there. It was kind of a happy tune. I never heard it before, but I remembered it for a while, but I don't now. And her behavior, back to her dress. She had on black pointy boots, looked like leather boots. And yeah, she looked like, I thought she was wearing a very authentic costume of some sort, done up with a lot of painstaking detail. And she's humming a song, like I said, and she's acting very erratic, all right? She's shuffling around, fidgety, while she's humming this song, and she'd bend down, and she was like going through the motions, like she's playing in the sand, but she wasn't actually touching anything. And it's corny, but I'm going to demonstrate, kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about, right? She's just kind of shuffling around, and she'd bend down, and she wouldn't actually touch anything, but she'd do things with her hands and stand back up and then bend down and just doing this and humming this song the whole time. And she'd stop and she'd act like she was miming, like she was playing in the sand. But she wasn't touching anything. And I'm like thinking, So I said to her, not thinking she's a spirit at this time. I don't advocate that, unusual, but I said, where are your parents? And she just stopped humming. She went, She mumbled something like with her mouth closed, it sounded like. Just, Yeah, I know, I feel corny doing this, but I'm just letting you know what's happening. And she'd go back to humming a song and fidgeting around and miming like she's playing. And the whole time, the boy, stepson, never interacted with her, never said a word to her, which I thought was strange because he was quite a socialite. You know, a 7 to 8 year old boy, he liked girls. And I thought it was really odd that he never interacted with her in any way, didn't even look at her. But I still haven't put it together. She's a ghost because she looked too solid, too real. And I didn't figure out. I'm trying to figure out what she's doing there, dressed like that, all by herself at night. And I said, "Where do you live? Do you live around here? Where do you live?" And and she once again she just went mumbled something totally incoherent, but sounded like with her mouth closed, and went back to what she was doing, humming a song and miming like she's playing. And I thought, I know what was going through my mind at the time. I thought, well, here's a nice girl. I got a good vibe from her. I thought this is a nice child that's been very well raised, and her parents taught her not to talk to strangers. And I can respect that. So I'm not going to try to engage her, talk to her. Looking at her, but that didn't add up either, because if she was well raised, what was she doing out here by herself at nighttime? And I thought, was she coming back from a wedding? I think it was a Sunday. I thought maybe there's a wedding and a party, and she walked out here to play in the sand, but she's still dressed up like she's part of the wedding party. That didn't add up. It's a small town. Maybe there was some kind of a costume party. No, that didn't add up. School was closed. It was summer. School was shut. It didn't make any sense. So, but I got a good vibe from her, and I didn't know what to think. So 10 minutes are up. I said to my stepson, "Hey, let's get going." And it was dark by then, and she was still doing the same thing right in front of me, miming like she's playing, humming some kind of song. And I said, I said, "Well, good night. Have a good night." And all she did was mumbled something, hummed it. And so me and my stepson turned and walk off, and I got a little ways, and she was still back. She didn't vanish. I looked back, and she was still there. It was dark, and we were starting to get out of sight. And I said to my stepson, I said, "Wow." I look at him, I said, "Wow." And he goes, "What?" I said, "What do you make of that girl back there, huh? Pretty creepy, huh?" He says, "What girl?" And I said, "The girl back there standing next to you playing at Sandbox." He says, "Huh?" I said, "The girl, that was pretty creepy, wasn't it? What do you think of that?" He says, "What? Is there no girl back there?" And then boom, it hit me. But I didn't go back there. I didn't try to, nothing. He was afraid of ghosts. So I had enough problems with him staying up at night afraid of ghosts in that house, which was haunted. I've got stories about that. So I just didn't say anything more about it. And also, when I talked to the girl, which wasn't much in this story, why didn't he say, "Who are you talking to?" I can tell you why, because he blocked me right out of his head. He was busy doing what he was doing, and I always I chided with him a lot, go to him. I'd always talk a lot of nonsense to him just to try to get a reaction out of him, all in good humor. I thought it was funny. He thought I was annoying. He probably just blocked me out while he was playing. Probably just thought I was playing games. That's all I can tell you. So we got home, and I never said a word of it. Never told him about it because I didn't want to feed his fears about things. So that's the story of the Sandbox Ghost Girl. And I can't help but think that maybe when I said, where do you live? Where is your home? And she goes, maybe she was from the graveyard that was right next to the place. Because that graveyard, I've gone around and looked at the stones. Ah, tragic. They always say a lot of times there's a 16-year-old boy died from a shotgun blast accidentally, and all this. A lot of children up there in that place from the mid 1800s. And I've often wondered what her face looked like. And I'm thinking maybe it's just as well I didn't see it, huh? And why she only mumbled, maybe she couldn't. I've told the story to other people, and somebody said it probably took a lot of energy for her, this is speculation, for her just to materialize like that. You know, she couldn't draw enough energy to actually talk. Who knows? I know some of you out there are going to tell me demonic. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm just going to tell you I didn't think so. I've been out there plenty of times since. I've never seen her. I don't go looking for that matter. Well, I've never seen her before or since. Now, the old cemetery that's there, like I said, I've got a really good story about that one that I'll eventually get into. Yeah, that's it. That's an odd thing. This is one of those cases. I've had them before where I'm dealing with somebody and I don't think they're a spirit until they either vanish or I think, oh my God, it comes to me. But I didn't think she was a spirit when I was talking to her. I wasn't really sure what to think. Yeah, I wish I would have gotten a picture, huh? I just don't go around taking pictures of people, as a rule. All right, that's all. That's story 17. Story 18, I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I've got a bunch of them. So, we'll see. Take care and thank you.